Hello, and welcome to the Matchbook betting podcast. It is the horse racing special where we are talking all things horse racing, looking ahead to the trials weekend at Cheltenham and indeed some action from Doncaster as well. The usual suspects are in position: Micheál, Deasy, Sam Turner and Declan Rix. But the first thing I want to tell you about is we are thrilled to be nominated again for the Smart Betting Club Best Betting Podcast. So please do vote. You can get to the Matchbook Twitter. There's a pinned tweet on there, and also the Matchbook Betting Podcast Twitter handle as well. Get to that page and you can vote for us. If you want to vote for us for the best betting podcast across all the sports, we won it last year and we'd love to win it again. That'd be very good. DC, I'd love to win it again, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's like the last 11 months I've just been thinking about following up. Like, as everyone knows, it's very hard to win 2 in a row of these.
He seems pumped about that, Sam, doesn't he?
As a Man United fan, he's just happy to win anything, I think.
Didn't take long, did it?
Straight in.
I waited till the end of the podcast last week, Sam. No, that was uncalled for.
At least the cricket season's over, so we can focus now solely on horse racing, which is good for Rixie as well, because horse racing's your bag, isn't it?
Well, no, after the latest Irish victory in the cricket, I'm slowly climbing the cricket ladder, I think.
We've got another one, Tom.
And who can forget that time we beat England about 9 years ago?
I
still remember going to the pub, knew nothing about cricket. We just said, Ireland bet England the cricket, we go for a drink.
Yeah.
This is the sort of content that should make you go to our Twitter handle and vote for us in the 2020 Smart Betting Club Awards. So please do that. Thank you very much. Let's get stuck into some horse racing. We should definitely do that because this is the last time we race at Cheltenham before those glorious 5 days in March. No, 4 days. 4 is still 4 for now. Before those glorious 4 days in March. It is trials weekend. We get all the key clues, particularly for the Gold Cup / the Ryanair. We've got the Cleeve as well, which is the key pointed towards the stayers. We've got a good-looking novice hurdle and a nice handicap chase we're going to be getting stuck into as well. Just first things first, just as a Cheltenham sort of overview, what ground are we expecting going round, starting with Dease, first of all? What are you sort of looking at for tomorrow's action?
I think it'll be absolutely perfect Cheltenham ground. I think it'll be good to soft, maybe on the good side. I was looking at the weather forecast. I don't think there's been any rain there this week. It's officially up at soft in the racing post at the moment. I think it'll definitely go faster than that. I think it'll be nice, lovely racing ground tomorrow.
Sam, it can often be run on very testing ground, but are you looking more good than good to soft at this stage?
Tacky. That's it.
Yeah.
Tacky. Got nothing else, Tom. Sorry.
No, I like it. Rixie, anything to add to that?
I think it's going to be soft. I had a look at the Golden Stick reading there today. I think it's 5.4. I think it was 6.3 on New Year's Day, and that looked soft to me. So the stick is even lower this time, but I think we're going to have a dry night tonight and dry day tomorrow, so it might be similar. But I suspect you need to stay and handle proper soft ground.
Be interesting to see how it all pans out. We've got accustomed to the pretty testing ground over the last 3 or 4 months or so. So we see how it rides tomorrow. We'll kick off with the 150 first of all. That is over 2 mile, 4.5 furlongs. It's the Trophy Handicap Chase, Grade 3 contest. And right towards the top of the betting, you've got Lawler up there at 6.0. Another half a point for the likes of Highway 101 and Warthog. Plenty of the usual suspects back here. Spirit of the Games. Oh, he nearly did it last time. I said I wanted some advice on whether I should back him, and I'm sure somebody talked me out of it. So I was quite pleased that he didn't actually win last time. Rixie, kick us off. I'll let you off.
Look, I think we've got 10 declared runners. I thought this was a tricky race solely because of what the ground is going to do. I think Cepage probably is a better horse on better ground than he's going to face tomorrow. Same with Spirit of the Game, same with Highway 101, and the same with Count Marybelle. Warthog's victory the last day, I'm not a huge fan of the form, but I think they didn't go overly hard that day, but they still didn't come home quick either. So I think that's kind of just a little bit of a worry in terms of the level of the form. Look, it's not a race I'll have a strong opinion on, but I just, given the way the ground is and the fact that he kind of bounced back to form the last day, I'd have a tentative kind of selection with Lawler. I think Kaylee Woolacott and her team, they haven't had a winner in over a year now. This lad is obviously the stable star, but while he maybe got a touch of an easy lead the last day, it allowed him to get into a nice rhythm and whatnot. He still ran well. And I just think it might be just a case of him handling the ground better than the rest of this field.
Lawler, he's gone up a bit for that, but he could still be fairly treated. This trip certainly looked his bag last time. Sam, if I've got my crystal ball out, I know you're a Sipage fan, and if you were willing to have 6.0 and 8.0, I think last time on side with him, then there's 10.0 available. So is he tempting you in again?
A little bit. He was certainly shortlisted. I'm going to go Highway 101 here because I think his career best effort came in the time form Novices Handicap on the same card 12 months ago when Kildesart just travelled up and was a couple of lengths too strong for him. I think back on this new course, last time out just over the 3 miles at Kempton, he was given an ultra aggressive ride and just got picked off. I mean, that was a fantastic ride from Sean Bowen on just a sting. I don't think he lost a lot in defeat that day, Highway 101. I think back on this track that probably suits front runners as well. Couldn't see a lot of pace in the race, 1 or 2 that might take him on, but quite a few hold-up horses as well. Maybe he might just get his own way in front. And as I say, coming back in trip for a yard that are amongst the winners at the moment, he'll do for me. He's
round about the 6.5 mark. I was all excited about 2 Taffs coming back, who was entered here, and I think Harry Skelton was jocked up as well, but he doesn't run here, so I'm going to sort of keep an eye on when he does materialise. But I'm personally was all out to support him, and I'm going to sit this one out then. Dease, what about you for the contest?
Well, I was gutted to hear the lads' weather forecast there saying it's going to be soft because I've done all my kind of research based on it being good, soft, or better. So, but I'm going to stick with it anyway, just in case.
Stick to your guns.
I will, of course. Yeah. So why not? Count Marable, for me, I thought that he would, again, as Rixie mentioned, he wants probably better ground. I think he has a nice bit of Cheltenham form. He's nice price. He's nicely weighted. I think this is a very open race. I mean, realistically, they nearly all have a chance. And I just thought he was the one that kind of caught my eye. I'd agree as well about Highway 101 and Lawler. I think that they might be the 2 best horses in the race. But I think Count Marable tomorrow, if he enjoys the conditions, if it does dry out a bit, I think he's a good chance. And of course, Twister is in good form at the moment as well. So that was another thing that kind of sent me his way. So I think at about maybe 9.0, 10.0, he'd be nice winning place bet.
Just a quick point on him as well. He goes very well fresh. I remember doing some stats on him sort of last year coming into this year. He's got a really good fresh record. So the 10-week breaks are positive rather than negative for him, I think.
Yeah. Do you think he's a possible leader here, or is that they've been a bit more patient with him of late? But I wasn't sure if they're riding handy again.
You'd probably be ridden forward, you'd think, wouldn't you? He'd be one of the ones that would like to try and bustle up Highway 101 at the head of affairs, I think.
And I wondered if Gardler Victoire, how he'll be ridden as well. I think he's probably best over shorter. But he could be a possible place angler in the race. Anything to add, anyone, to our opening contest that we're previewing? Happy? Let's move on to the 205 at Doncaster. So we're going to flip and flop between Cheltenham and Doncaster. We're previewing the 7 terrestrial contests as far as the UK goes, so all the ITV races, and we'll flip-flop between Cheltenham and Donny. There's going to be plenty of festival clues between those 2 tracks. The 205 is the Albert Bartlett River Don Novices Hurdle, one of the key trials for the Albert Bartlett at the festival. There's only the 5 in here. I'm very tempted, if I can kick us off, because I didn't put one up in the last race, by Evers Oscar here at 8.0, who I think he's progressing quite nicely, and I was taken enough with what he did last time, albeit getting a bit of weight from Klein when winning. He's got a bit to find officially, but Tim Vaughan's changed things around at home and as far as where his yard is based effectively, and they're just in much better form than they have been over the last couple of years. I thought he could be underestimated. We know he stays, and he seems to mix it up across different sorts of ground. My one issue is, having said how well Tim's are going, they've just gone off the boil ever so slightly, but I thought 8.0 was big enough to have Eva's Oscars on side personally. So I will have a small bet on Eva's Oscar. Dees, what about you?
Yeah, I was looking at Eva's Oscar again, but it was the terrible form of the yard was what really put me off him. But I think that he had that. Tim Vaughan have a treble that day that Eva's Oscar won at Chepstow, something like that. He produced him on the right day, so he was interesting. But having gone through this and you've seen the 5 runners, I actually went for Champagne Well because Champagne Well was entered in the Ballymore as well. I think he was second or third favourite, the Ballymore side in Cheltenham. He turns up here. I think he is a rock solid horse. I think he's had a very good season. He won at Cheltenham and in the October meeting and has finished second twice. Now he's given a bit of weight away to Bossman Fred, but I just think out of the top 2. He's a bit more experienced at the top level, so I'm going to go for him.
I wanted to back him in the other race, but there we go. He's not lining up there, and it always looked the way because Paddy Brennan was always jocked up here. Rixie, who do you like in this? It's a 5-runner contest.
Look, it's a little bit trappy. I'm a fan of Champagne Well because he's got that form with Time Hill, who is I think is probably maybe the best novice hurdler in Britain this year. And is obviously a horse who should definitely run in the Ballymore and not the Albert Bartlett. Just thought I'd get that. I get that in there. Look, I like Champagne Well. He's I think he could be a potential wise guy horse for the Albert Bartlett. Just because he's got loads of experience. I've seen lots of kind of pundits and analysts kind of banging on about experience in the Albert Bartlett the last few years, and I think he could be one of those horses. Look, I couldn't back him because I just hate backing horses with a penalty. But I think even under the penalty, whatever beats him will have to put up a proper performance. I think getting back on some better ground is going to be a big plus for him. The only thing is he does act very well at Cheltenham. I'm hoping he can run to a similar level at Doncaster. I don't see any reason why, but I know he kind of looked like his run the last day at Cheltenham was a little bit strange because it looked like he was, after jumping the last, he was going to go away and bolt up, and then he looked like he tied up badly, and then he looked to be coming back at the winner again. So I don't know, is he a bit of a horse that Paddy Brennan's got to really deliver late on the line? Or I'm not sure, but I think the key with him is getting back on some better ground. That's a number of things. He's a really good mover, and it's going to help him to stay a little better. So I'd be looking at Champagne Well, but I'm a fan of Bossman Fred. I like him. He's a horse who races behind the bridle, which I think you would really suit a horse in the Albert Bartlett. And he's game, but this is a step up in class for him now, to be fair. But look, he's unbeaten, and you've got to really respect that profile. He worries me a little bit too much to back Champagne Well, who carries the penalty. If they were off level weights at the prices, I'd be all over Champagne Well, but that penalty is going to make things a little bit trickier.
Can I rewind just slightly on the Antipost comment? That's Time Hill. You want him to go for the Ballymore. Is that based upon an Antipost position or a genuine? You think he'll be better in that race?
I've got to be honest. I've backed him Antipost, but you hear all the race fans on social media and whatnot. Everyone's I don't want to come up against Envoy Allen. Why not? He's not some kind of Pegasus horse. He's still got to show up on the day in good form and run his race. And he was hardly amazing the last day when he won. This nonsense of avoiding horses, the form book. The form book doesn't suggest he's that far ahead as the market does, in my opinion. Time Hill is a proper horse. Look, if he ran in the Albert Bartlett, I'd be a little bit disappointed because I think he's that good. I think he's good enough to run in the Ballymore, and he hasn't got near enough as much to find with Envoy Allen as people suggest.
It goes against, I would say, popular opinion. Philip Hobbs maintains that he'll make his decision based upon the ground and what it is. That'll be interesting. Anybody, Sam, you want to add to that or back to this 205?
Yeah, I've not got a lot to add. Champagne Well for me has run up against two of the better UK sort of staying novices, as the lads have alluded to with Time Hill and Redford Road. Couldn't quite understand how he managed to get beat last time. I mean, he obviously got matched very short on the exchanges. Looked for all the world as though he's going to come and pick off those in front of him at Cheltenham before staying on late on, as Rixie said. He's got to prove that he's equally as effective on a flat galloping track like Doncaster as he is at Cheltenham, where he's had plenty of practice. And I'd concur that the Albert Bartlett looks a good race for him, really, in that he's a hard-knocking, sort of battle-hardened hurdler with plenty of experience. So I'd have to make him the pick here. One or two of the others are sort of pumped-up handicappers going up that level. At least he's already proven at graded level. And it's interesting that I think the Fergal O'Brien team are just coming into a bit better form as well the last week or so. They've had a few winners here, there and everywhere. So I'd just give him the shout here.
That's Champagne Well for the the River Don. Just checking, he's around about the 3.5 mark you can get for Champagne Well, of course, giving a little bit of weight away. Anything to add, anyone, for our River Don?
No.
Let's move on to 225. This is the Cotswold Chase Grade 2 contest over 3 miles, 1.5 furlongs. Everyone's favourite slow boat Santini is back. Finally, do we think he would have been campaigned differently if he hailed from a different yard and there wasn't other potential ammunition from this yard that Nicky Henderson was trying to sort out, or are we happy with the campaign he's been given so far?
100% he would have been campaigned different. If I can just jump in ahead, he's been wrapped up in cotton wool as Nicky likes to do. But look, if he wins a Gold Cup, we'll have to kind of bow down to Nicky again. If this horse ran in the the Ladbrokes Trophy, I should say, he would have won it. I thought that wasn't the best renewal this year. I know he would have been carrying a big weight, but he's a proper horse, and I've been really dying to see this horse. Two things: one thing is run past 3 miles for the first time, and the other thing is get on the new course at Cheltenham, proper big galloping track. I think he's going to really eat up this course. I really do. So, but yeah, to answer your question, if he was with someone else, he definitely would have. He would have probably ran another. He would have ran at least once, maybe twice.
So I have an anti-post position on Santini for the Gold Cup. It came very early last year. Having spoken to Nico de Boinville before the RSA last year and asked him about Santini, who hadn't had that perfect prep. And he said, I'm very worried about him on the old course. And I think he's a new course horse. And I thought, well, he's a Gold Cup winner. That's it. And nothing I saw in the RSA maybe changed that opinion. And then last time happened and I changed that opinion. It just wasn't good enough. And I feel we're late in the day to get the Gold Cup bandwagon rolling again, personally. So that'd be my worry. Sam, what do you think?
Agree with a lot of the points you've made. To be fair to the horse, he's had wind surgery, hasn't he, after Sandown? So that indicates that there was obviously an issue there they weren't happy with. I do think he's lacking in a bit of experience. I think it's a bit harsh to label him a real slow boat, and everyone said, "Oh, he's take 2 furlongs to get past a horse," and all this sort of stuff. Everybody, after they watched the RSA, thought that we were watching 3 potential Gold Cup horses last year with Delta Work. Obviously, Santini on top of the game. Now, it hasn't necessarily worked out that way, although obviously Delta Work's on his way back. And I think to damn Santini with just one moderate comeback run, like everybody seems to have done, is a bit harsh, really, on the horse. So I'd afford him another opportunity or two. Whether I'd want to rush out and back him for a Gold Cup or not is open to question. But this represents a pretty good test for him. Bristol de May, 3rd in last year's Gold Cup. The likes of Mr. Whitaker, Durash Accountant, Slate House, those are all horses that could improve or carry on progressing. So it's not a give me by any stretch of the imagination, and it'll be a decent test for Santini. This race sometimes has been just full of pumped up handicappers trying to, wheedle their way into a Gold Cup picture at 25 to 1 or 20 to 1. I think this is a better, more in-depth trial and test for him. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. That said, I don't really necessarily want to bet him at sort of 2.75 or shorter in this field, because I do think there's 1 or 2 horses that can trouble him. Topville Ben and Bristol de May from the front will make sure this is a good gallop. I think that might help Slate House, who, although he's only a novice, had plenty of experience at Cheltenham. Very unlucky, not to have won 2 or 3 races there this year. I know I've just contradicted myself by saying a pumped up handicapper, but he did actually endorse his sort of graded credentials with a good win at Kempton over Christmas, obviously in the Feltham. And, I just like the fact that he's going to be ridden patiently here, try and pick his way through. And if you look back through all his form, all those races he's been running in have all worked out exceptionally well. Even that little Huntingdon contest when he was just repairing his confidence after the unfortunate fall in the handicap at Cheltenham, or the crumple on landing at the second last when he looked like he would have beaten Happy Diva et al. So I just think he's a horse that's worth taking a chance with a sort of 8.0 or bigger. And with Robbie Power on, who for me is the preeminent rider at the moment. I don't need much encouragement to swerve Bristol de May, who's 0 from 4 at Cheltenham, albeit with a good recent run there. And Santini, who's making his comeback, and he's 11 weeks off the track, off a wind up, and this is very much a comeback effort for him. So I'll take Slate House with fitness on side and Cheltenham form already in the bank.
And just to follow up on that, do you think this is a sign they're going to do a Coney Green, campaign him as a Gold Cup horse because he's got so much experience as a novice, or is this just how the race falls and you think they'll go back into novice company for the festival?
Well, he's only going to be a novice for 1 year, isn't he? So, actually, it's been ironic because he ran in the Grand Annual the Arkle Chase last year, so he's been a novice for 2 years. But this is his one opportunity to run in a novice chase now. So I think probably they might shelve the Gold Cup pretensions. But if he's an impressive winner, then it might force their hand. But they do have some decent quality individuals to run in that race, so they'll probably go the novice chase route.
Deasy, your favourite horse is running in this?
Favourite horse to play sleigh over 3 miles, is it? And this is over 3 mile one, Tom. So, and he's a big hill to be climbing up with this old Topfield bin. This is a tough old race. Like, I mean, two lads have a well covered. Like Santini, you're spot on with him. Like, he gets it off doing what he's a very good horse. But you need to be winding him up nearly a circuit out to get him actually going top speed. Like he just takes so long to get going. It's kind of worrying. Bristol de May, I've never backed him in my life. Never fancied him at all. Slate House, it's kind of between Slate House and the Rasher counter for me. Depending on the price, I'd probably go for the bigger price one. Whoever lines up tomorrow, I think the Rasher counter will probably. He seems to be on the drift this morning. Now, he was very, very well back for the Ladbroke Trophy, so they knew he was going to win there. Now, the money hasn't come from yet, but this is obviously a much tougher race, and he's one of those old handicappers that Sam was on about that might sneak into the Gold Cup at 25-1. I'd give him. If I had to have a bet, I'd probably go with the Rasher counter.
Yeah, I could have him on board. I suppose the only thing, the likes of Bobsworth and Many Clouds, who went on to from the Ladbrokes Trophy wins to prove themselves as Grade 1 performers, they were carrying £10 more in a Ladbroke Trophy when they won. But he was beaten over 2.5 as well as a hurdler by Santini, so that horse was quick enough to win over that trip. Then I think he probably does have a little bit to find, but I do like him. But I will back Topville Ben genuinely. I'm not just winding you up, Dease. I like the way he just settled last time, and he's rated 164 now. It's purely a price thing, and at that sort of price, round about 8.5, I think that's very much fair enough for him. I will have a few quid on Topville Ben just because he did look a more tractable, just looked a better racehorse, I thought, last time. So I'll have a bit on him. It's a race I wanted to oppose the top two in the market because of Bristol de May's record. And I know I was jokingly being negative about Santini. As I say, I have supported him for a Gold Cup, but I just couldn't support him at the top of the betting for this. It's a race that favourites have an appalling record in. I think that's normally to do with very bad ground, although it won't be that tomorrow. But that's still at the back of my mind as well. Rix, did we get your sort of official selection for the race, if you have one?
No, I'd probably, at the prices, I'd probably just roll with Bristol de May. A couple of reasons. Again, kind of, it'll be tepid again because he's carrying a penalty, but... couple of things really. The main one is I think I seem to be the only one who kind of has this trail of thought. Well, not the only one, but everyone seems to think Santini is a proper kind of mudlark. I don't. I think if you go back and watch his run in the Cato Star last year, at Kempton at Christmas, which can get decent ground, he handled the ground fine and it was a very good performance. He just plainly hated the track and probably going right-handed. So I'd be a little bit worried about Santini, but on the plus, just on the ground. But on the plus side, I think because he's a big, gross horse, it's going to give him a proper workout, which he's going to need before the Gold Cup, because I think this is a horse who could potentially thrive on his race, and he's got that kind of barrely kind of body that, a bit like myself after Christmas, the more work you pump into me, the better I am. So I think that's the way he's going to be. But I think Bristol de Mayo, he's shown time and time again he likes this ground, and I think he'd probably handle it better. And also at Bristol de Mayo, he has run very well at Cheltenham here numerous times before. I know he's kind of looked a bit of a monster at times at Haydock, but he ran a cracker in the Gold Cup last year where I thought he got a pretty bang average ride. He was 6 and 7 and 8 wide at various stages of the race. And look, I think the O'Learys have the same kind of trail of thought: stay wide and be out of trouble. But you're not going to win big races with such negative rides. You've got to be brave. You've got to be down the inside, a couple off the rail, in amongst horses, and just take your luck. So I thought he ran very well that day. Just with Topville Ben, I love him as a horse. I love the way he goes through the race. He jumps very well and he's game. I am not sure. I think 3 miles for him is his maximum, and I couldn't believe it when I saw he wasn't entered in the Ryanair. I was genuinely shocked. I know the last day he was really sexy, did everything on the bridle, but if you saw him really late in the race when Tommy Dowson got after him, I wouldn't say he walked over the line, but he didn't gallop through it like a horse who was going to, really thrive over extra. And if you remember the run before that at Newcastle, he looked like he was home and hosed. He must have been 6 or 7 lengths clear jumping the last.
Why was he bringing that up? Well,
I do apologize. It's because your hair's looking better than mine again, and I've just got to get you back somehow. So I'm a little bit worried about him. I think a potential play in this race is actually laying Topville Ben in running. I think he could go short, look like he has a lot of these in trouble, and maybe just get chinned. So I apologize. It's your hair that's done it again. I've got to get one over on you somehow. That's
exactly the angle that Deasy took at Newcastle, and you were spot on. It's exactly what, and you tipped the winner that won at 20-1. So there you go. We had a fun WhatsApp exchange off the back of that.
That was a good day.
Man, Deasy, the best man to come out of Cork since Roy Keane.
Oh, I love it.
Right.
There you go. So basically, it's a 6-runner race. We've given you 4 different horses. Get voting on the podcast of the year.
Sony Award winner.
And no doubt the marketing team will be crowing if one of them wins.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Put up on the pod. Quite right, too.
I'm the marketing team, by the way. So, yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Right, let's kick on to the 240 at Doncaster. This is the Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle, Grade 2 contest, 2 mile half a furlong for this. We've got Lady Buttons and Floressa tussling it out to the top of the market. Just talked about a Phil Kirby horse, and there Lady Buttons sits pretty at the top of the market. Last year's winner from Floressa, who's much more lightly raced. Irish Row, another previous course and distance winner, gets into the bigger figures. Sam Turner, go on, kick us off with this.
I'll keep it brief, Tom. I'm going to stick with Lady Buttons. She's 4 from 4 at Doncaster. Hopefully she can make it 5 from 5. She's proven here she's just a fabulous mare. And Phil Kirby's team continue in very good order. And she put up a really, really sparkling performance on the clock to beat Happy Diva. And I don't know how she managed to win that race, but she did. She got an inspired ride from Tommy Dowson, who's been excelling this year in the saddle. I am very scared of Floressa because I think she's a very talented mare, and I think the conditions of this race, i.e. ground, track, and the configuration of Doncaster should suit her ideally. I think she's got a fair bit of pace as well. So there could be a point at the bottom of the straight where she's travelling a little bit stronger than Lady Buttons, but I'll back the Doncaster specialist to come home the fastest.
DC?
Yeah, I was all for Floressa until I saw the prices. If she was a bigger price, if there was more of a gap between herself and Lady Buttons, I'd be going for her. But I'd have to go with Lady Buttons just because they're basically the same price. Lady Buttons is absolutely rock solid.
Let me get a price update for you. As Rixie, what do you think? Is it between the top two in the betting for you?
I think it is on form, but with mares races, I always tend to try and give Mother Nature a bit more respect, because who bloody knows what can happen. But I've actually backed one anti-post here for the Dawn Run. I've backed Florenza. I backed her before Christmas, well before Christmas actually, for the Dawn Run. I think she is a cracking filly. She comes from that form line of Silver Forever and Jeremy's Flame. I think those are three proper classy mares. This mare's probably just got that bit more touch of class above those. I love how she travels. I love how she jumps, and I love how she picks up. I think Doncaster, just like Newbury, is probably going to be ideal for her, and good ground is going to be ideal for her as well. So it's a big day for James Bowen, who will be Nico de Bonneville can't be in two places at the one time. So this is a good ride for him to get. And yeah, look, I think Lady Buttons is a better chase for myself. She's a 10-year-old now. There's not much in the prices at betting, but if I had to put one up, I'd give Florenza the nod here. But even she could still run second here to maybe Lady Buttons and still enhance her claims for Cheltenham. So either way, I'm hoping for one or the other.
Nicky's got a few possibles for the Dawn Run, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I wonder.
And if they're in different ownership, they've all got to run, because there's only kind of one race. They've only kind of one race for those kind of fillies or for those mares at the festival. So run them all, Nicky.
There was a mare that bolted up at Taunton, Marie's
Rock.
Marie's Rock.
Yes.
Another one right up there as well. Prices, incidentally, best price 2.63 versus 3.0. Does that make you adjust your opinion, Dease, with what you were saying, or do you think Lady Buttons is the value there at 2.63?
Like I've typed up here Floressa, blah 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 blah, but I thought she would be a bigger price. I thought she might be 4.0 or something. I was expecting Lady Buttons to be a bit shorter. I'm just going to go for Lady Buttons just because she's a top quality mare. I think she's really good. I know she's giving weight, but it's hard to know. I'm not really interested in this race, to be honest.
Fair enough. We've been there and danced the dance. I don't think I'll be parting with any cash, but if I had to pick one, it would be Floressa, just based upon I think this will really suit. And I actually thought 3.0 was fair enough based upon what she did last time. I thought she was really good value for that win last time. But yeah, right towards the top of that market isn't normally where I get stuck in. Let's kick on to the 3 o'clock at Cheltenham. We've had some questions in about this. We'll get to those. This is the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. It's registered as the Classic Novices Hurdle. King Roland, best price 2.0, 3.5 for Protectorat, who got that race last time, of course, in the appeal. Harry's Senior is 6.5. Time flies by. About 1.5 bigger, and then we get heading towards the double figures. Go on, Sam, you can kick us off with this one. I think you did the last one as well, but kick us off here. Where are you looking? Top of the market or lower?
Yeah, unfortunately, very unoriginal, but I'm a big fan of King Roland. I think he's potentially one of the nicest horses that we might see this year, this side of the water in novice races. Very taken with him at Newbury. I didn't think that trip really played to his strengths behind Son of Camas, and although one or two horses haven't excelled out of that race, there have been one or two that have, and it was a very, very strongly run affair, and that sort of puts him right up there on my figures anyway for this race. He's obviously a point winner as well, so he should stay well. I think it's a wise idea to bring him to Cheltenham just to give him a look at the place, because he hasn't really tackled an undulating track as yet. And I think this step up in trip as well should see a bit of improvement from him as well. I'll be disappointed if he's beaten here. I know he's taken on a couple of really nice novices. Protectorat obviously ensured that we felt that he could get the trip after that last performance. I always thought he was a little bit keen, a bit on the latch, and I wasn't sure whether he'd get home in that race he finally got when he was handed it instead of Imperial Alcazar by the inquiry afterwards. But I do feel King Roland is a really classy individual, and I can't for the life of me think who was a horse that Willie B. Court beat in the Ballymore a couple of 3 years ago. Yeah, the ill-fated horse, unfortunately, of Harry Fry's. But hopefully, this is one that's going to step into the breach here, albeit 2 or 3 years later, and prove himself a very talented staying novice before going over fences.
We had a question in, so I'll come to that now, actually. And I think it's a good question from Lewis, just with regards to this. The 3 o'clock at Cheltenham, this is what it is, the Ballymore trial. But I think you need an Albert Bartlett kind of horse for it. What do you guys think? And history would say that you may well want that. But I think we've touched upon the fact that you can get pretty bad ground here as a rule, and perhaps it can lend itself to a stayer performing well. Just previous winners: Wichita Lyman at Fisher's Cross, Bob's Worth, Stanley all went on to win or perform well in an Albert Bartlett. The new one was beaten in this. Massini's Maguire was as well, and Tidal Bay went on to run well or win a Ballymore or a Neptune as it was then. But I take the point. I tend to look for something that's going to stay further. Rick, see anything to add on that?
Yeah, look, I suppose it's just the time of year, isn't it? With the ground, it's going to be proper soft and kind of heavy ground generally this meeting. So, especially you're kind of dealing with young horses, and stamina obviously plays a big part. So yeah, I can definitely see that kind of line into this race. Yeah, most definitely. Even just looking at the past winners and the horse running the race, that the question definitely lends itself to that way of thinking.
As a result of that, is there anything? I mean, Sam, you're talking about King Roland winning here. I mean, is he a horse in mind for the festival itself, with regards to what he does here to where he'll then end up at the festival?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd be amazed if he came back in trip. I mean, he won his Uttoxeter bumper by 25 lengths in heavy ground, so he looked for all the world as though he was going to be a 2.5, 3 miler. But he doesn't lack speed either. I mean, you don't lay up with those horses at Newbury in such a strong circuit time and a good overall if you haven't got a bit of pace. So I think the interim trip is absolutely perfect for him. This is exactly the right race, and he might be one that you just take a view on, and you might be tempted to have a look at for the Ballymore, as opposed to Rix's good thing on Voir Allen.
The second coming, that's what we call him.
He'd be the 27th coming, really, wouldn't he, if you were discussing Irish novice hurdlers?
He would, yeah.
In my lifetime, anyway.
I just wanted to mention House Island, who I thought ran a good race last time. I wish Rocket Lad wasn't in there, and this horse might get an easy. And I thought he could have been one to just keep an eye on in the run, and perhaps take certainly an early price about, and then maybe get out at some point. But Rocket Lad is in there. But I do think there's a factor of this horse is rated 143, and technically £7 to the good with regards to the horse that heads the betting. I just thought he was a bit overlooked at 9.0. And I don't mind the form from last time. It's grade 2 form where he's beaten by Enrillo. And the third that day has form that ties in with Time Hill, who's going to run in the Albert Bartlett. And so
Hey.
So I think won't be watching. He won't be all right. But I thought he was just a bit overlooked, and I think for one of the bigger yards, he'd be a shorter price. So I thought 9.0 was fair enough, but equally I wouldn't go mad. Deasy, go on.
I was very surprised to see Rocket Lad actually entered her. I thought this was kind of one of those things where they enter into a race to see what kind of handicap rating he gets. He's actually the highest rated horse in the race, which is mental. He's rated 145. I was only really looking at Sporting John for this. I couldn't believe when he was rolled out this morning. So I am going to take a go at Time Flies By, the other JP horse in the race. Now, this is only his second run over hurdles, but he is decent form in all 3 of his races. He came second to Israel Champion of Bumper, which is very good form. Last time he lost the shoe, and just bringing up his form here. He finished 12.5 legs behind Massa Debonair at Ascot, but that was on bottomless ground. He kept going. I think that he might enjoy possibly the slightly better ground that I think it's going to be on Saturday, which mightn't happen at all. So I'm just going to stick with him. I think he's going to be about 8 or 9.0. I kind of King Roland could be a fantastic horse, but he's a bit skinny for me now to be backing in a race like this. I think Protectorat just has a bit too much weight. Not Mad and Harry Senior at all. And again, a shout out to you as well. House Island is a nice horse as well. I thought he was a nucky there last night, but I'm just going to stick with JP's horse, Time Flies By, because they left him in here.
Who is 8.0? Rixie, have you got a bet in the race?
Yeah, look, I think given the ground, I'd be looking maybe at Harry Senior. I think King Roland long term is probably going to turn out the best of these. I'm just a little bit concerned about how he does like to take a grip. He's still a little bit raw mentally, I think. And that's definitely the case with Protectorat as well. He certainly does take a strong grip. So Harry Senior, just to me, he looks kind of that more professional. He doesn't have to carry a penalty here as well. And he got on some proper soft ground at Chepstow the last day. And the way he picked up and quickened now was really impressive. Look, I know in terms of form, as he was odds on, he was entitled to win like he did. But he just looked like a horse to me who really enjoyed the proper soft ground. And I can see him, he's going to get that on Sunday. His professionalism might go home. I'd be looking at backing him each way if the 8 stay in, actually. So, so I think the now horse is maybe Harry Senior. The future horse is going to be King Roland, and maybe kind of the future tracer is going to be the Dan Skelton horse.
Just a little point though on Harry Senior. I know he has looked at a professional. Did just lose the plot a bit at Warwick on that classic chase day. If you recall that he was going down to the start and decided to jump one of those rails, which was just there just to keep the horses away from some poached ground, and crashed through that, unshipped Robbie Power, and then was ruled ineligible to run really by the vet. So just bear that in mind a little bit, perhaps, that he might not be the most straightforward.
I like it, yeah. And he eventually got him down to the start. I thought he might still run, and eventually they said,
yeah,
we'll set that off. I like his form. I like the Edwardstone Sporting John form.
Definitely.
About that. Let's move on to the 3:15. This is the Skybet Handicap Chase, a listed race over 3 miles. We've got 14 going forward for this. Dingo Dollar's having another go, bless him. And he had the betting, 6.5. In fact, Alan King's well represented in here, 9.0 for Azerti, and the same price about Cobra de Mai. Dan Skelton's got a couple in here as well, not for similar sorts of prices. OK Corral has Derek O'Connor on board with Nicky Henderson training him, of course. I just wanted to make a point on this just because Cheltenham expert Matt Toombs tweeted it about OK Corral being rated 146 with Derek O'Connor on board. If he runs a bad race, he might just scrape into a Kim Muir. You've got to be a 145 or under to get in that. I thought that was worth bearing in mind, just how they might campaign this horse. I certainly wouldn't want to back him here, but he might be interested. About 21.0 for a Kim Muir, which is a long way off. I thought that was an interesting angle with him, given that Derek O'Connor rides him. Rixie, you can kick us off with this. You weren't very sweet on anything in here, I remember, in our pre-chat. Is that fair?
Yeah, it would, just because I didn't get a chance to go over it as much as I like, and I'm very aware that you're potentially telling people how to bet here. So, yeah. In saying that, though, I haven't looked at the prices. Alan King's other horse, Good Man Pat, what price is he?
Good Man Pat. I knew you'd come good for something. You can go for 15.0.
Yeah, I was just looking at him. I thought he made a lovely comeback at Ascot when he was going the wrong way around. He looked like a horse who'd enjoy kind of a couple of things, getting back on some better ground and going left-handed. He certainly gets that here. Fair enough, you've got to forgive the last run in that competitive race at Cheltenham, but I just think the ground was too soft for him that day. Alexander Thorne is not a bad little jockey for £7 claimer. He's certainly capable. He's going to take that off his back. So just with better ground, getting back left-handed at a track I think he could go well at. I was potentially looking at him, but again, it would be pretty tepid. But if he goes and wins, I'll obviously say I was mad keen, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll get marketing on that.
Yeah.
Sam Turner.
Yeah, not a race I'm mad on either, Tom. Amongst many races in the racing calendar, this is one I've got a pretty horrific record in. I think it's a very interesting point you make about OK Corral. Obviously Derek coming over to have another bit of a look-see on him. He partnered him when he won at Warwick last year in that forerunner race where he set that blistering speed figure as well. So I think he's definitely one to keep on side as we move towards the spring, either for something like a Cheltenham Handicap or indeed maybe at Aintree further down the line. The other Henderson horse is a horse I like, Burbank. I know he's a complete character and a bit of a nut job, but I was really taken with him last time. He got past in the straight at Newbury and then really put in a strong staying performance to overhaul Tidal Flow. Unfortunately, that win has earned him an £11 rise in the weights. But I think if he can just find a bit of rhythm at the head of affairs, I think the configuration of this track is fine for him. Bit of cut in the ground. He just looked a horse that was in very good terms with himself there, and looked for all the world as though he might find further improvement stepping up in trip as well. So I'll just take a bit of a chance with him, but not race I'm mad on.
I'll have my sort of strongest fancy of the weekend in here. Yeah, don't worry, it's a big price, nailed on for fourth. Dingo, there's not Dingo Dollar, but just to go through them from the top. Dingo Dollar, I'm not sure he's a big field lover. Alan King said as much before the Ladbrokes Trophy, and I think they'll revert to the forward tactics, which they didn't do last year, much because you had Go Conquer in the race, but he wouldn't be for me. And there's a few then sort of next couple in the betting, the likes of Ravenhill Road and Azerti. I'm not absolutely certain want this trip to be at their very best. I thought Quarenta was a fair old shout here at a half decent price, based upon, you've already mentioned, Sam, I think it was that Kempton form with the race won by Justice Sting. Highway 101 was second on that occasion. A pretty solid 13.0. I was surprised it was that big. Pretty versatile ground-wise. I think this track will suit. The partnership with John Joe Neal's gone very well. And I just think he wanted a stiffer test than he got at Kempton last time at a track that probably didn't play to his strengths. I was really surprised he wasn't shorter. So he's going to be my sort of biggest, probably the biggest player of the weekend, Quarenta. Dees?
Okay, Corral should be running in the Gold Cup this year, lads. But he's owned by JP, and they don't give him horses. I have a nice anti-post position that's already got down the flipping toilet already, and it was based on Santini was 10-1 or something, and I was like, sure, he beat Santini in the Albert Bartlett there. He finished ahead of him. Okay, Kral was 66-1, so I was like, I'll have a bit of that.
Tom, turn his power off, will you?
How do we get rid?
Rant over. Rix and Sam have actually mentioned my two horses. Good man Pat, I stood out of the prices to me because he was backed all week for the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup in Cheltenham, and he didn't quite see his race out, but I thought that they fancied him for something. I was quite surprised to see that he was in here at he's about 21.0 yesterday, I think. But he's you said he's 14.0 now. Nice bit of juice in the price of that, and Burbank as well, just because I thought that he finished his race out very well last time. He's a classy horse, and the Hemmings like winning this race. So those be the two for me.
Very good stuff. That's our look at the Skybet handicap case, listed race over 3 miles. And then we come to the last we're going to look at, which is the Cleeve Hurdle, the big Stayers Hurdle test, certainly the big one this side of the Irish Sea. We had a pretty good one yesterday as well. We're going to come to that. Paisley Park heads the betting and is pretty comfortably odds on. 5.5 for if the cap fits, 11.0 for Somerville Boy, and then we get stuck into the bigger prices. We do have a field of 8 here currently, which could make it of interest in the place market for some. Just to come to some questions we had on it first of all, there's a couple that tie in with each other. So Wayne Harrison's got in touch here and says, "Are any of you guys back Benny 16-1 for the Stayers?" And that ties in with a question we had on Twitter from Ben Nicholson, who says, "I think Paisley Park is a sure thing in the Cleeve, but what price would he beat Benny Didier in the Stayers Hurdle if she lines up?" The first question is, where do we think Benny will run? Given Willie's comments, it's the best mare he's ever trained. Does she now go in the Stayers?
Willie Mullins is like water. He will always take the easiest route. Yeah. She will run in the mares.
She'll run where the ground is the softest. And if the bookmakers are priced her at favourite for the mares, which they obviously have, that's the route that they'll take. He's always dictated to by whatever price his horses are, unfortunately.
Ruby Walsh has always said on Racing TV the last 3 years, he's said it always that they go where in the races they think they're most chance of winning. I still think she'll go mares, but his comments interested me off the back of the Gormoy. He was incredibly positive about her.
Knowing Willie, she'll probably run in the bloody champion hurdle, for God's sake.
Well, he did say she's more a 3-mile mare than a 2-mile mare, so hopefully we put that one to bed.
He stick her back over fences. Her first 2 starts over here were over fences, weren't they? There you go.
Yeah. She should be running in the Stayers Hurdle, shouldn't she? All day long. It'd be a fascinating race. You've got one horse that'll be off the bridle at the top of the hill, and the other one will be swinging away, and they'll have a titanic duel between the two of them, probably, with if the cap fits and Somerville Boy in behind them. Be a fantastic race, but of course we won't see it.
How many points would you have between them betting wise? I know it's hard if I'm just giving you two horses, but you'd have Paisley a firm favourite to beat her, would you?
Yeah, you'd have to have a favourite. You'd probably be even 6-4, would it?
Yeah, I would. I'd be. Yeah, I think that's how they price it. I'd be still very confident Paisley would have her. Nobody would be on Benny's side, would they, or would you?
I think she'd trade a fair bit shorter than the starting price, just because she just saunters through her races. I mean, that yesterday was just a complete demolition. What was she rated yesterday? Rixie 157. Paisley's 169. You know, she's going to go up for that again, isn't she?
I think in receipt at the £7, she'd have a great chance.
Yeah, I think she's all quality, isn't she?
Against most horses receive the £7.
Well, none of us think it's going to happen, so there we go.
No, yeah.
She'd win the mayor's race and get as much money on her as you can, I'd say now. Double with Tiger Roll.
Wonder whether would there be any pressure from the owner, do you think?
No, I think he is going to want to go, as has always been the case with his horses, the best chance they have of having a Cheltenham winner. I mean, he's not exactly been blessed with them in the last 3 years because he's had a luckless few years. So I think if he's leaning anywhere, it could be down the mare's route.
I think he trusts his trainer. Why wouldn't he? Like he's you know, Willie hasn't really set him wrong before.
No.
Well, let's come back to the Cleeve first of all. So I'm from a punting perspective, I'm hands off here. I can't really find anything wrong with the market how it is at the moment. I think Paisley Park will win, etc. Boring. Has anyone got a bet in the Cleeve?
It's not a bet as such, but I wonder whether Somerville Boy might be a touch overpriced because we just don't know how good he could be over 3 miles yet. I mean, Johnny Burke, when he jumped off him in the rail keel, he beat a pretty good yardstick there in Roxana. And he jumped off, and I think he was asked a question, should he go champion hurdle, should he go stayers? And he said, there's no way on earth I'd be coming back on this horse. So if he was to get the run of the race out in front, and, you know, we've seen already this year a number of times how good Johnny Burke is at setting his own tempo at the head of affairs in races. 10-1 sort of each way for him might look quite a tasty price because he's got plenty of Cheltenham form. He looks as though he'll stay. He looks as though he'll get home. Certainly wasn't stopping last time in the rail keel. And, you know, if the cap fits, if he misses a couple of hurdles out away from his beloved sort of right-handed track, you know, and he only beat Roxana ahead, didn't he, at Aintree last year, whereas Somerville Boy beat her quite comfortably in the Cleeve. So, you know, one's 9-2, one's 10-1. I think I'd rather back Somerville Boy each way at 10s against Paisley Park myself.
Rixie?
Yeah, no, it's a race I'm going to watch. I would just say, kind of given the ground, I'm still not totally convinced about if the cap fits over 3 miles. Somerville Boy has to prove he stays, got a penalty as well. Paisley Park is obviously the class act. I think Paisley Park is a much better horse on nicer ground. And I could just see maybe Lammy Surge. I'd rather be back in Lammy Surge place only than Paisley Park win only, something like that. But yeah, no, it's a race. I'm going to watch. And
Micheál, anything to add to that?
Yeah, this is the old dead 8, 3 places each way scumbaggery kind of race. You know that.
And of course, you've never ever had a bet in one of those races, have you, Deasy? Because you like to take that moral high ground, don't you?
Not at all. No. I don't know the book is anything. They've taken plenty of money off me over the years. Again, I took the two lads have tipped there. I know Somerville Boy and Lammy Surge, rock solid there about. But they're getting a 10.0, 11.0. Just for this kind of race, because I did last week, I would say just lay Paisley Park because you're getting 2-1 to field in. I think he's a fantastic chance of winning, and he's probably the best horse in the race. But because it's an exchange, you can lay him. If he's going to be about 1.5, you're getting 2-1 of the rest of the field. So I'd say that'd be my bet for today. Bet in it.
just on that point, I mean, his comeback run, the handicappers will say that it was sort of £9 to £10 below his best. So, you know, he might have the odd question to answer, mightn't he? I mean, he's turned into a winning machine, admittedly, and could be win number 7 for him. But I think he faces 2 or 3 really live contenders, you know, rather than 1 or 2 horses that are perhaps going backwards.
He had a lot more racing as well by this race last year. I think this race last year was his 3rd run of the year or something. And Emily, I was actually reading into it. Emily Velger, I think was in the racing horse, and she was saying that like they didn't have the luxury of starting him off in a handicap this year and just kind of building him up slowly. Like, and all eyes are on him now. There's a lot of pressure now. I know the horse doesn't know that, but you know, if the Cap Fits is a good horse, like you said, Somerville Boy is a good horse. Lammy Surge is a good horse when he's the hit on, like. And even, like, I know, to be fair, is, you know, a solid handicap, but all his best runs is at Cheltenham in these kind of conditions. So, you know, if there will be a shock, and I think that when he's that short of prices, it is worth laying him, because you're not going to lose a whole pile of money, and you might double your money for giving another 7 horses the chance, you know.
It's if you think that's value on your side, isn't it? If you think he's shorter than he should be, then with Matchbook, of course, you can just bet straight against him and lay him if that's what you want to do.
And of course, as well as that, you can always stick in a back offer at something like 2.0, 2.5, because there is every chance that he could sit out the back and make his run late, which he did last year. So you can get out of it that way. I would say if you want to lay it back as well, that might be a good strategy.
Just on that, do you think people have bought into the flat spot he hits?
I was going to say that there will be a day when he doesn't find as much off the bridle for being driven as you think he's going to. But I thought that about 13 or 14 times with big bucks as well, and that didn't work out too well for me. But yeah, I think the markets and punters are a lot more savvy nowadays. I think perhaps 10 or 15 years ago, you'd have seen some big old prices go up in running for horses as soon as they come off the bridle. But I think people know their horses better now, and certainly the in-running players do.
Wayne's continuing the conversation. Thanks for that. He says he's backed Benny at 16 to 1 for the stayers or shorter. Money talks, and the owners will want to go there because of the money for the stayers. They've got Stormy Island, maybe Lorena in the mares. I mean, Wayne, you're on board for Antipost, so I appreciate you want her to go that, and of course that's your prerogative, and quite right too. It's not certain it's going to happen.
I do think that the weather forecast.
Richie was stuck for a few quid.
I think the weather forecast will have a big bearing, though, won't it?
At Cheltenham in March, mate, it'd be grand.
Go on, Sam.
I was just going to say the weather forecast will have a big bearing on which race they go for. You know, if it's dry early week and it looks like rain from Wednesday night onwards, they might take a punt on the stayers. I think that was one point that Willie Mullins made, you know, after Garin, that the ground, he wants a good bit of cut for us. So you've got a chance really still. It just depends. You're betting on the weather, I suppose, in some respects with that.
And we all thought that Apple's Jade was going to stay for the mares last year. And then after the Beverley Racing Festival, lo and behold, she ran in the champion hurdle. And that didn't work. So there we are. We don't know for sure, do we? We had a question in on Twitter. This is just springing this on us, but I have got one. Who is the best Irish bumper horse you've seen this year with a view to Cheltenham? ? I really want to make this a thank you to Sam Turner, because I don't think I've ever said thank you to Sam Turner.
No, you haven't, no.
But thank you, Sam Turner, because you did flag up that Eric Bloodaxe might be quite a good horse before he won, and he's turned out to be a good horse. And I've been really impressed with him, and his form looks pretty good. So he's got to be right at the top of the betting for the bumper. I'd say he's for me, unless I've missed anything in the last 10 days, I think he's up there with the very best. I've been impressed with him.
Panic Attack.
Yeah.
If she goes with the allowance, with the mare's allowance, I mean, she looked pretty special at Market Race. I mean, it's a world away, isn't it? And we'll learn a bit more, won't we, after the Dublin Racing Festival next weekend, hopefully. But
yes.
And I think Eric Bloodaxe is going there, isn't he? So
I think that's I'm trying to think of mares that have come good in a champion bump. That have even, I can't think of many that have run, but of course
was Relegator mare.
Yeah, she was. Spot on. The year that Tornado Flyer was a good thing, and it didn't happen. Rixie, anything to any Irish bumper horse? I know we're springing this on you.
No, I don't bet in bumpers. So if I don't bet in them, I don't kind of. I probably, to be honest, I probably should take a lot more notice of them, because you know they're the next year's kind of novice hurdlers. But no, no major opinion on that. Sorry.
Willie's fourth string on the day.
Yeah. Briar Hill, Relegate. There's loads of them. They've been third or fourth strings, and there you go. DC.
Yeah, Eric Blood Axe is probably the one that I was most impressed with, and the one I've won the most money on. So I have a. And the other horse that I got a tip for over Christmas, but he hasn't won yet, is Wide Receiver. He's a Gordon Elliott horse, Dickinstown as well. Apparently, he's the best one in their yard, and he's up there. I mean, you can get 25 to 1 on him at the moment. But again, it's the champion bumper.
Sorry, lastly, Wayne has said, what's your best anti-post Cheltenham bets? And again, we're springing this on you, but has anyone got one that they've done recently in the last couple of days and gone, bang, Cheltenham, that's the one for me? Or with a view to perhaps before we run over the next few days, there's some good races coming up between Britain and Ireland that you want to be on board with?
I've had some very bad ones as well, but Shishkin for the Supreme, I think is probably, but he might not even run in that race if Micheál has his way, because he thinks he's a Ballymore horse. But I think he's a Supreme Novices horse all day long for me, just the way that he races. So that's probably my best. And I've had 2 or 3 bad ones as well. Sporting John for the Supreme, I don't think he's going to run in that. Wave of the Sea for the Triumph, he looks as though he's got a bit of a reputation to rebuild. So yeah, there's a few losers in there as well.
Sporting John might go in the. I mean, I know it's not his decision, although he trains the horse. But speaking to Philip Hobbs for Matchbook out of the Clarence House, we brought up Sporting John, and he said it will be very much ground dependent between Supreme and Ballymore. But he was into Ballymore, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I wasn't on it just yet.
Okay.
Rixie, anything you wanted to get off your chest, anti-post wise?
No, nothing I could kind of put up at the moment. I think this weekend is not a great betting weekend, I don't think personally, but it's going to be very, very informative. So maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, I'd have a better understanding of that.
DC?
I Sporting John in the single, but most of the ones I don't know are kind of bet types of Matchbook don't offer, so I can't really talk about them. Like could possibly be offering soon, so watch this space. But I got a bit of value on it, like Factor Doodleries for the Arc Life, him at 25s in there. But then again, I've Malone Road in there for the Supreme. He's gone. I've Envoy Allen at 13 to 2 for the Ballymore, 7.5 in decimals. A few of them like that. But generally, I wouldn't be a huge anti-post punter because I just gotten to Cheltenham with so many years down 100 quid already from anti-post best after being bust before Arsenal turned up. So
fair enough. One more thank you that goes to Declan Rix, because I did relieve some places of money on Epatante for the champion hurdle off the back of your recommendation before she won at Newbury. So you're a great man for that, Rixie. That was a great shout. I'll keep an eye on Discorama, who I think may well run in the Ultima when it's not really up across the board yet. And I mean, he's not really anywhere, but yeah, I think he could run in that. And I think it could be very, very interesting. And I think Delta Work at 11.0 for a Gold Cup. I mean, he won the best trial so far, and I'm surprised he's 5th or 6th in the betting. So that would be my one probably for now. Best bets on the day for trials weekend. What have we got? Mine's Corenta. I've said that already. So Corenta in both the win and place market in the listed handicap chase at Doncaster over 3 miles. Sam Turner, best bet.
Oh, what prices are we going? Are we going short or?
Up to you. Whatever you think the best value is.
Slate House. In the
Slate
Cotswold chase.
In the Cotswold, DC.
I'm going to go for Champagne Well in the 2:05 in Doncaster.
Champagne Well in the River Don, and Rixie.
At the price, I'll go Each Way Harry Senior.
Harry Senior for Rixie. He's just dropped the mic, hasn't he?
Yeah, right.
I'm done, boys. I'm out of here.
The best exit I've ever seen. Rixie, thank you very much. Dees, thanks, pal. Lovely stuff.
No bother, bye.
And thanks for coming on after last night. Appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers.
We'll talk again soon. At the Wolves, indeed. That's it for the Matchbook Horse Racing podcast this week. Enjoyed Cheltenham, Doncaster, all the action for both sides of the Irish Sea, and hopefully get on board with some Cheltenham Antipost fun as well. Bye-bye for now.